Hi everyone. My name is Teresa. I'm a PM here at Coda. Before Coda, I worked in product and product operations at Flatiron Health. And throughout my experience in product, I've had to update numerous spreadsheet roadmaps and also try to share a consolidated update to my stakeholders. So I'm really excited about this topic today. It's something that's really important to me and I've spent a lot of time on. So first, we'll focus on some customer stories of crazy road mapping spreadsheets we've seen at Snap, Zoom, and Qualtrics. We'll talk about how to streamline your roadmap in Coda, and then we'll make sure to leave time at the end for any Q&A. So before I dive in, I'd like to actually share out a link to this check-in doc. So let me share. So if y'all can go in, click that check-in doc, and then I'd love to hear from you what you're hoping to learn today, what frustrates you about road mapping, and in this hot topics table, you can add any questions you have right now or things you really want to make sure we touch on. And I'll make sure to answer them throughout the presentation. And also, as I said, I'll make sure to leave time at the end. So I'll give everyone a few moments to fill it out. And as I mentioned, I really want to make sure this is most helpful to you all. So feel free to use the chat or add your questions. Really want to make sure this is an interactive session with everyone today. Yeah, so looking at what's coming in, the updating when things shift around, definitely feel you on that. I feel like things are always changing, so it's how can we update our roadmaps accordingly. The tailoring for different audiences seems like something coming in also. Definitely a different audience to share the roadmap with your engineers versus your CPO, and we'll touch on that too. The organizing feedback, also feel that, and how to tie that into your roadmap. I love that everything Excel sucks. And then I think in case you missed it, here is the check-in doc that we're all in. So feel free to add it. Okay. So yeah, we'll definitely touch on a lot of this. Thanks y'all for filling this out. This is super helpful for me to make sure that this next 45 minutes to an hour are really helpful for you all. And then as you go through, if there's anything else you think of, feel free to add to the doc, add in the chat. John, my colleague's also on the call. He'll capture and add to the hot topics and we can make sure to go through it. So let's jump in. So for those who are new to Coda, I just wanted to give you a quick 2-minute overview of what Coda is. So Coda is an all-in-one digital workspace. I've been at Coda now for 3 years, and at Coda, we run Coda on Coda. So in my past roles, I felt like I had to do so much manual work. a lot of what y'all were saying, like trying to keep everything up to date so that we were actually executing fast. And what was interesting is before I got to Coda, I didn't even realize that the tools I was using could be possibly slowing me down. I just thought, oh, this is what I have to do as a PM. I have to be copying and pasting and doing all of this. So now at Coda, I have my PRDs, Team Hub, meeting notes, tracking, etc., all in one place in one tool. And I feel like it's made me a much better PM and also way more organized than I thought I could be. So as I said, in my last jobs, I used to work in spreadsheets a lot, and it's not a bad tool. Spreadsheets are easy to use and familiar. They are very flexible. They provide some organization. It allows you to visualize information, and you do have the formulas. And I'm curious from y'all, like I saw some of you all in the check-in doc have used spreadsheets. If you can add to the chat, what do you like about spreadsheets and why have you turned to spreadsheets? I'd love to hear. Yeah, spreadsheets are easy to share. Would love to hear any other things that are helpful about spreadsheets. Sorting and filtering. It's a familiar tool. You can export data, it's visual. Yeah, definitely. So I'm not saying that spreadsheets don't have a place, but for me and for a lot of customers, we've seen that there are also a lot of challenges with spreadsheets. And so now some of you already touched on this, but I'd love to hear, what are your spreadsheet pet peeves? Let's go the other way. Format is limiting. Yeah. Oh my God, yeah, the formulas, I feel like I was always asking people. Bad UI, too many spreadsheets. Hard to scale. Yeah, definitely. So let's dive in. I'm going to cover 3 top challenges we've seen with spreadsheets. And I'm sure there's more, but there's also a lot of good things. And we wanted to talk about how there could be a different way. So first, spreadsheets are very difficult to maintain and keep up to date. And I saw a lot of you mention this. And to illustrate this, I'd like to share a story. So this is Leo. He's a senior product manager at Snap. And he shared with us that in his role as a PM, he'd have to copy and paste so much relevant content from the roadmap into a million status updates, and that really sucked. So they'd track multiple spreadsheets and docs and sheets for different projects and do a ton of work to keep it all in sync. And keeping this information up to date is a super important part of our role, since usually a lot of teams are dependent on the product work. However, this leads to a lot of collaboration fatigue, and spending time copying and pasting and making sure information is up to date. You lose a lot of time that you could be spending on more valuable things like strategy work. Now let's hear in the chat, does this feel familiar to people? Yeah, keeping information up to date is a lot of work. Yes, okay. Cool. So now, when Snap moved to Coda, there was no more manual consolidation. And instead, Coda did all this consolidation for them. So Coda has database tables, which means you can change information in one table and have it update in another. And you can also visualize information in numerous different ways. So in this GIF, you can see when you change something such as you'll change the duration here, it automatically updates in the timeline Gantt. If you change something on your Kanban board, it also updates in the table and all the other views. It's also much easier to maintain the hierarchy of milestones, projects, and tasks We've heard people in Sheets often use color coordinating to try to keep the hierarchy manageable. Here in Coda, instead, it's very structured, so you can easily have your projects, tasks, subtasks, and they're all linked. And you can do higher levels or lower levels than what I'm showing here. You could go all the way up to your company-wide objectives and connect it all the way down to your subtasks. And so coming back to Snap, they were able to consolidate their roadmap to one team hub so that all their information stays up to date. Now, the next problem I want to share that a lot of y'all mentioned is spreadsheets make it really difficult to create an exec summary dashboard. So I'd love to hear in the chat, what tools do you use today to share out that summary to your exec team? So in my previous jobs, for example, I would use Docs usually for a short write-up, and then I would also use slides. Yeah, sometimes also would use Slack, depending on what it was. Seems like a lot of slides. Yeah, feel that. So we have another story, and this is from Zoom. So at Zoom, they faced this problem too, and they needed a single source of truth for all their projects so that it would be easy to share out updates to their exec team. So before, they had hundreds of artifacts and were jumping between systems, especially if they needed to share out an update. They had to grab information from all these disparate systems and add it to a slide, for example, in Zoom's case. So imagine this, and this happened frequently at Zoom. They would get a Slack, what's the update here? And I'm sure a lot of you on the call have gotten DMs asking, hey, what's the update on all your projects? I know I still get that today. And then they'd have to go to Jira. They'd have to go to their sheets and their roadmap, make some charts and visualizations to make it easier to understand. And then they would put it all together in a slide deck to share out. Now, this is very time consuming for us as PMs. And while the end result looks great, the effort to get there is so much work. So now Zoom has one single link to go to that's a single exec dashboard that presents information that's always up to date and easy to consume. Coda also has a lot of integrations. So in Zoom's case, they're able to pull in their Jira tickets to give a high-level summary of their tickets as well as their roadmap all in one place. So now the last problem I want to touch on, which y'all mentioned as well, is spreadsheets mean constantly asking for status updates. Now, I'm curious in the chat, how often do y'all ask for status updates? So we have to share updates to leadership, but to get those updates be up to date, we have to be asking our teams for a lot of updates. Like, hey, what's the status of this task? This morning, I asked my engineer, has this PR hit prod? Weekly, then monthly, weekly, 1 to 2 times a week, weekly. Cool. Yeah, so at Qualtrics, they mentioned this too, and that one of the biggest challenges for leaders is being able to consume the right information to make the right decision. And I thought this was a really insightful quote because you want to make sure you're getting the latest information so you can make decisions off the most up-to-date information. And it's not that we don't do this as product managers, TPMs, product ops. We do. But the burden of getting that most up-to-date information usually falls on the product org so that you can make decisions off the right information. And we've heard from PMs and TPMs that they spend a lot of time asking their team to update their status and check in on the progress. Now with Coda, Qualtrics has built simple apps to do these repetitive tasks for them so that instead of the TPMs reaching out and pinging people, they build, in this case, a simple reminder system to remind users and their team to update their status of their milestone, of their roadmap item, of their project. And this ensures that their roadmap stays up to date. So I'm going to hand it over to John now, who's going to actually show what it looks like to move from spreadsheets to Coda.
Awesome. Thanks, Teresa. And Teresa already shared a little teaser of what life looked like, at least for me, before moving over to Coda. So what I'm sharing you is basically from my head, I recreated a situation where I was tracking out of a spreadsheet and what it looked like when we moved over to Coda. All right. So like I said, this is a spreadsheet that I was basically using at my previous company and working with hundreds of clients, like at Snap, Zoom, Qualtrics, who we chatted. They almost always share a screenshot or run us through a spreadsheet like this. So super common to have something like this. Maybe you have some sort of like charting that comes out of it and you're copy and pasting that into your weekly or monthly status slide deck here. And then each PM, TPM, different teams comes in and puts their updates here, right? And the second you update this, then it's stale. You go back and kind of do the cycle the next week. What you can do in Coda is actually, it's pretty easy to get this over. You can copy it and paste into a Coda doc like this. And all of your initiatives or roadmap items, feature development, whatever you want to call it, will look like this in a table. So similar sort of idea. You have columns, you have rows. What's a bit different in Coda is each of these rows are actually a roadmap item. Like the doc understands the data that's underneath it. So for example, if you open it up, it's going to look like a roadmap item. It's kind of like a mix between Jira and Roadmap and Aha, like the different apps that you might use for specifically road mapping. And you can shift and move this around and kind of build your own little roadmap. All of these cuts that you can see here all come back to the same data. So for example, if you have different stages in your product development process, you can move through planning into design and development. And all of these are just filtered views of the base table. So here I'm just filtering on, I only want to see things in development. So you can start making cuts for different parts in the product development process. And same goes for different views for different stakeholders. So super commonly, we have roadmap type of view that we want to show off. Where it differs from using more like static roadmaps is you can shift and move this around. It'll update in both places. Again, I can open this up, same data underneath the hood, so I'm not having to recreate everything. And there's a ton of different ways that I can view this data. So we have, traditional kind of swim lane Kanban views. I just showed the Gantt chart and different options here like calendars. The last part of this is basically the report that I was showing before, the copy and paste, recreating dashboards in Looker. You can build that directly here in the doc too. So commonly we have folks just linking this URL to execs or just taking this page and going out into another executive dashboard. And you can start sharing out the high level. You can think of this as a combination of portfolio, health monitoring, however you want to call it. It's all in one place and you don't have to recreate these reports every single week. It's all live coming directly back from the data. All right, Teresa, anything I missed?
No, I don't think so. That was great. Thanks, John.
Awesome. Yeah, if we have any questions, we can come back to
it. Katie, please show us how to build this. So that actually leads us to the next part, is trying it out yourself. Let me make sure I share the right window. Okay, so we're going to build out a mini roadmap for y'all to try it out. We do have the template for that exec summary that John shared, and we'll make sure to send that out afterwards. And I think John can share that link in the chat. So to try it out, I want everyone to open a new tab wherever they are and type in coda.new. If your company already uses Coda, you'll create a new doc. If you don't, it'll take you to the sign-in page and you can sign in. And you'll come to a blank doc just like this. So let me pause, make sure everyone has got to the blank doc. And if anyone's having trouble getting here just to a blank doc, let me know in the chat and I can go back. Okay, so I'm going to move to the next step. So follow along if you're in a doc, because I think it's more fun when you can actually do it yourself. At least for me, that's how I learn best. So we're going to hit /, and then type in roadmap. So our / command at Coda is, for me, one of my favorite features. You can add anything to your doc if you do / and then type in what you want to add. So for this example, we're going to use the product roadmap. So you can click product roadmap. And then, boom, you have a simple roadmap here that then we can play around with. So if you were building this for your team, you could clear the data. But for this demo and for this example, I'd like y'all to keep the data so you can see how it works. So come down and you'll see that there's a feature list, which shows all the features, and then there's this timeline. So as I mentioned, one of the great things about Coda is that the information stays up to date. And I want y'all to try it out. So you can grab a timeline item like the mobile app, move it, and notice down here the date's changed. So I can do this down here too. If I do February, you can see it changed here too. Can move it back. Can change the date here. And it moved. So take a moment, kind of play around with how these two views or two connected tables work well together. So because these are connected, you don't have to copy and paste into the visualization, let's say your FigJammer slides from the source of truth. It just automatically updates. Okay, how's everyone doing? Yes, so you can connect with Jira and actually pull in all your ticket information and then use Coda as that layer on top to present the always up-to-date information. Right now, I am not going to show that just because it's a little more complicated, but I'm more than happy we can follow up after.
Teresa,
and
yes, you see it.
So dependencies you can just easily add by dragging onto whatever is dependent on each other. One second. Oh, John, you're muted. I'm not sure why it is not connecting. But there must be something in this template that hasn't set up for dependencies. But usually you can just drag the dependencies on your roadmap. Okay, I want to move to the next part because this is my favorite. So the next piece is how do you set up that notification to automatically update people? So you're going to click on the feature list, add a column, and type in notify. And you'll see this button that says send, message, or notify user. And you'll get this pop-up that says send a message or notify a user. So you can connect to Gmail, Slack, other apps to send a notification. For here, I'm just going to use the Coda notification. And then recipients, you'll pick the column PM here. And then you'll type in your content. So you can say, hi, please update your, and then you can do @feature roadmap item. And when you click out, you can see here's the button. Now, if I want to, which I always find this fun, you can update the label and the icon and the color. So I view this as a nag bot. So it's someone nagging that's not me. I can change the icon to be a robot, add the color. And then I can click nag, and the notification will be sent not only in Coda, but also in email. So let me pause and see if there's any questions here. Now, the last thing I wanted to show y'all is, while this is nagging everyone, that's great, but not all these people have to be nagged because their roadmap item isn't overdue. So when I look at the end date, today is March 28th, these two are overdue, and these are the people I actually want to nag. So if I go back into the button options, so column options, and I scroll down to advanced, I can disable the button based on the end date. So if the end date is after today, meaning it's not overdue, then these are all the people I need to nag, and I can just go through and click them. You can also set up automations to do this for you, so you don't even have to be the one coming in and clicking the button yourself. So let me pause. I know I showed a lot. I'm happy to go through any of the other steps again, and we'll make sure to follow up on the dependencies. Could you set it up so it notifies 2 days before? Yeah, so the formulas in Coda are pretty robust as well. And I did just after today. You could change it and do is before, 2 days before, or whatever you wanted to. Might need a quick redo. Okay, we can do it real quickly again, if that would be helpful. So I'm gonna start over, and we'll do coda.new to create a new doc. Then if you do product roadmap, it'll be the first thing that comes up with the / command. And boom, you have your roadmap. Then to add the notification button, you'll do plus notify. And you'll select the recipient to be the PM here. You can type whatever message you want. Please update. You can change the label. I'll call it the nagbot again. You can change the color, whatever you'd like. And then come over here and change the PM to be yourself so that you'll get the notification and see what it looks like. And then when I click nag, you should get an email if you change the PM to yourself. Okay, let me pause, see what questions there are. Can you connect the roadmap to a list of quarterly projects? Yes. So as I showed in the screenshot, all of these could then connect to higher level projects, or similarly, all of these features could connect to tasks. So how do you link an existing feature list to the timeline? So you would want to have a list of all your features, And then you would just copy and paste that in here with the dates. And then your timeline would update. Does this support automations? Yes, so we can actually show this. Let me change the column. So I'm going to do the last step here and I'll show you the automation. I really like that y'all want to get into the advanced features. This is fun. So you'll come to advanced, disable if the end date, I'm just going to make it simple for this demo, is after today. So is this overdue is basically what I'm looking for. And you can see this one's overdue. This one doesn't have a due date. I'll add one in so it is also overdue. I'll change myself to be the PM. I have not been updating my status. And then we can add an automation by going document settings, automations, and then add rule. So for this rule, a lot of y'all said you do weekly updates or have to ask people weekly. So in the same way, you can say time-based, weekly. And so every Monday, come here and send a notification. Now, what condition do I want it to be? Oops, sorry. Every Monday, we're going to then push the button, and the button is going to be the send message here. So I don't even need a condition because I already set it up here in the button itself. So then every Monday, this is saying every Monday at 9 a.m., it's going to come in and push the buttons of any overdue project. Yes, let me do the automation one more time. So I'm going to delete it and start over. So I'm going to add a rule. Oh, actually, let me start from here. Settings, and I'll come to automations. I'll click add rule. I'm going to do a time-based automation, but there's a lot of different automations you can do. So I'm going to do time-based. And since y'all said you usually ask for weekly updates, I'm going to just keep it every week on Monday. I'm going to nag the people whose projects are overdue and ask them to update their status. So the button already does everything for me. All I have to do is say every Monday, click the buttons in this table. And because they're already disabled for the ones that are not overdue, it'll just, it'll go through every Monday and go down and click any button that's enabled, which means the project here is overdue. So let me pause and see if there's any other questions. Yay, it looks like someone got it to work. If you got it to work, add to the chat. Okay, and let's go back. I just want to cover a couple more things and then we'll make sure to leave the rest of the time for Q&A. So just to recap, why to move away from your spreadsheet. So as we mentioned, spreadsheets are disconnected. It's a lot of manual work, and it leads to this lack of visibility if you have tons of spreadsheets across your company. And with Coda, it leads to a more connected experience with tables that update across all your different views. You can automate it, and it's transparent, and you can share updates easily. So if you're curious to learn more, you can start in the advanced road mapping template that John showed, the product development roadmap. You can look at our handbook for product teams. So our CPO Lane put together a ton of insights after talking to a lot of product teams of how the best product teams operate and what rituals they use. And that handbook for me has been really helpful to make my product teams work more efficiently and for me to grow as a PM. And then lastly, if you enjoyed this webinar, we do have a couple more webinars coming up on different topics related that would probably be helpful as product managers as well. So with that, thanks you all for listening. I do want to make sure we leave the last time for Q&A. I know you asked a lot of questions in the chat, but I really want to make sure we dedicate time to it. And I will stop sharing.
Teresa, we have an option for Q&A. Do we want to do the hot topics out of the doc or use the Q&A within Livestorm?
It seems like we already have a couple questions in Livestorm. So why don't we do the Livestorm questions?
Okay, great. So for those who are asking questions in the chat, let's move those over to questions, the actual little question in the bottom right-hand corner. Like Genevieve, great question. Let's put it over there, upvote, and then we can tentatively invite folks to the stage. We've never done that before, but it could be fun to have a more general conversation about some of these. Thanks, Mike. All right, we like your question, Genevieve. Let's see how we can. Okay, so we go. Oh man, it's so indirect. I'm going to go back to chat. Invite if you're willing and open to come chat with us. Let's talk about it.
Hey.
It worked.
Hello, welcome.
Hey, nice to
Okay,
meet
perfect.
you.
That's the first time I've opened a camera on a Coda webinar. I was a bit surprised. But yeah, truly, I've been playing a bit around, and something I found out is for the type of project I manage, there is a lot of items that fell under like one big milestone or delivery. So I wonder to keep things condensed if there's a way to have subtasks or sub features.
Yeah. And I see you're a digital producer over at Unit 9. Could you tell us more about the company and like what you do?
Yeah, well, we're a company, we do a bit of everything. We have like from digital to experiential to film type of projects. What I focus on is obviously on the digital brand. So we do like mixed reality, augmented reality projects. So yeah, we work a lot with Jira as our platform for development. And Coda is going to help us do all of the rest for like the creative, the strategy, and the UX.
Awesome. So we're thinking of moving off of G Sheet for road mapping and Smartsheet, or is Smartsheet going to hang out with you still?
Ideally, I'd love to not use Smartsheet because I'm the only one looking at it. Nobody is really interested into Smartsheet. It's too siloed from the rest of the tools we're using.
Yeah, I feel that too. Smartsheet is actually in our same office up in Bellevue, Washington.
Okay.
We ride the elevator with them sometimes and
Okay.
talk about milestones. So Teresa, that screenshot that you had in the slide deck with all the sub items and hierarchy, would you want to pull up that doc? I don't actually have a quick example I can pull up. I can build it from scratch too.
Yes, I have an example I can show.
Cool, let's do it.
Okay, so I actually just added a new template to timeline with dependencies. So I forget who was asking about dependencies. This is what it actually looks like. I don't know what was happening before, but if you move one, the way I set up this dependency, all the rest downstream work. And then for your question, Genevieve, on sub items, for any item, you can right click and say insert sub item. And then you can add your sub item here. So they're all connected to that one task. And then this task can also be connected to a project or to a milestone, and you can like continue building the layers up.
Perfect. So we need to select the template with dependencies to have access to the sub items, correct?
You should be able to have, it should work here too. So if I do right click, insert sub item here, you just have to turn it on. And then you can add your sub item feature here.
Great. I'll do a bit of research afterwards because I'm missing that from the template I've selected, so no stress.
Cool. Okay, yeah, we can definitely follow up after because I also use sub items a lot and they're very helpful. Cool. Well, thanks for joining us on stage. Very fun.
Pleasure.
Talk to you soon.
Ciao.
Okay. Removed and done answering. Awesome. All right, Katie, if you're willing and able, let's hang out.
And no pressure if you'd
Oh,
rather stay invisible.
sorry. I need to go to Katie. Let's invite to participate. Okay, let's see if this works. We're all new at this. I'm just going to read the question now too to get a sense of what's going on. Do you have the base table in the doc with the roadmap, or can you pull this table from elsewhere?
I'm going to be off camera if that's okay.
Totally fine.
Webinar. Yeah, I'm usually like brushing my teeth or cooking during webinar.
Yeah, he's not prepared to be on camera.
All right.
Do you want to ask your question, Katie?
Yeah, I actually would love an intro as well. Like,
sure.
What you do, who you are, what sort of.
I'm Katie. I'm in design ops at Visa. We have our entire design org in Coda and have been using it for, I guess, about 6 months since we really launched. So we have a ton of information in Coda that lives within a larger workspace. And so we have all these sub teams that are building kind of their own trackers that connect to what we call the mothership, which tracks all things happening in design. So a lot of people are having kind of their breakout spaces, and we want to tie things back to the mothership. So we use crosstalk a lot, but it can be a little squidgy sometimes. So I would love to get kind of a demo on, or my question was really like, does the main, like the feature list and the timeline to build a roadmap, does it have to exist in that doc, or can you pull it from other docs within the workspace?
Oh man, Katie, this is so timely. We hear this a ton, and there's two things. We're starting to develop a point of view for best practices around this, just in general. And then our enterprise product development team has been working on a ton of crosstalk improvements to make this a reality. And actually, the stories that Teresa was sharing around Snap, Qualtrics, and a few others, they're starting to implement this as well, where you have this like mothership type design with like a central source of truth. It lives in Coda.
Yeah.
It might live in somewhere else too, like Jira, and you're pulling it into Coda and then starting to do work around it. So here's a fake company workspace, Foxhound Analytics, they're some sort of weird B2B SaaS. And then they have this central roadmap that you see here. So it's kind of similar to what I had demoed. You have all the product initiatives, and then each of the teams has different cuts into it. So what you can do with this is commonly we see folks, if we go back to the main workspace, have that central roadmap tracker. And then, for example, if you go into product, each team has a team hub. So like the in-app guidance team has a team hub, the mobile and XR team has a team hub. And this is where we normally see the connection coming down from the roadmap.
Yeah.
So this is a crosstalk table into this team's hub, and it's only their roadmap items. So instead of having that massive list of the hundreds of roadmap items across the org, it's the 10ish or so for that team. And we have a two-way crosstalk, correct me if I'm wrong, Teresa, launching yesterday, very soon.
Yes, it launched, I think. Add row. You're now able to add and delete a row from your team hub. So you don't have to even go into the big doc now. You can just stay in your small doc and not be overwhelmed by the mothership, as you called it. And that should be enabled already. It did launch.
Yeah, I think we do have two-way crosstalk, which is great. So are you just implementing a filter there to only show one team?
Yeah. So two things that we have. So best practices today is you either filter on the big roadmap doc, your mothership, and then you're filtering only a cut of that. What we've done here is we're actually only filtering by this team here, but sometimes when there's a lot of data, that's not best practice because you don't want like the entire company's roadmap in your tiny little doc. So I usually like to filter on the doc itself. What we're working on right now is at least internally, we're calling it pre-filtering, which allows you to bring the crosstalk down, actually put the setting to filter so that it's only bringing these few items into your doc and it doesn't load heavy, or you can't like have someone come in here and accidentally change the filter and suddenly you realize like, oh no, I'm looking at another team's data set.
Okay.
Answer your question? Thoughts, comments?
I think so. I mean, I feel like we are always pulling the mothership data into a team hub, and it does get really heavy because there's just like way too much information in our mothership. We're fixing that. But yeah, can you show me how to implement the filter on like the main table itself without changing everybody else's view?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's pretty easy. So what we'll do is we have views in process, but maybe we have a team section. And then what I would do is I would probably create a view. So that was like the mobile XR team. I would then pull in all of those initiatives. And again, this is on the mothership level. So I'm then going to filter this down to just this crew. And then I would probably call it something like, okay. So I've done the filtering now on the big doc. And then when I'm cross-docking it down into this doc, instead of cross-docking everything, when I pull in the doc, you will see my product initiatives. It hasn't been renamed yet, but it's in the mobile page. So I'll just pull that in, and it'll only pull in the little cut of
Nice.
what we've done.
Okay.
Yeah, so this should keep your team hub like sharper, not bogged down, and it's just it's the few things that show up here, which is what we saw up here anyways too.
Great, thank you. That's super helpful.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, well, what we see in larger companies like Visa is like, okay, you have the central source of truth, but a ton of teams start like gravitating towards that and wanting to spin up their own team hubs, and they have their own data, but they still want to give updates and pull down and sync from that main doc. So yeah, that's something that we're starting to see a ton across our clients. So it's cool that it's happening at Visa too.
Cool.
Thanks for joining us on stage, Katie.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Okay, I think we have time for a few more questions. Let me see which one's rising to the top.
It looks like Ben's might. Oh, we got a tie. Can you be a tiebreaker for us?
Yes, let's do Anne's first, and then we'll go to Ben. The best practices around connecting product roadmap.
Oh yeah, sure.
I can show the relation columns.
All right, and I'm not seeing if Anne's still here. Okay. I'll stop sharing if you wanted to share, Teresa.
Sure. Okay, so the question was, can you share best practices around connecting product roadmap to OKR reporting? And I think this has come up a few times with people asking how to connect the OKRs and your milestones. So I wanted to share this template. So this is just the OKR. If you type in OKRs, this is what comes up as a template. And what I really wanted to focus in on is if you look at the key results, you can see that this is the key results here for the launch desktop app, 30 installs. And this is just made up information on our template. But what's important to note here is you can connect your objective and you can also connect your team so that then you can report off of this. And I can see by the team how far are they on their key results. Your key result also might just be, I feel like different companies name it differently. So this might be your feature status or your launch date, and you can see how far progress is being made when you connect the objectives to then the teams or even the overall company strategy. Anything to add on that, John?
I just love how you have all the docs that were in the slide ready to demo, and that's incredibly helpful.
Cool. And then just because this is a quick one, Jenny's question of sharing a direct link to a filtered view. So this is a view, and if I click the 3-dot menu, which is our other, like, I don't know if it's magical, but it does a lot in Coda, you can then just say copy link, and this will directly link whoever you share this link with to this table. It'll scroll down and bring them right here. Yes. So if you do OKR, I think I just did the OKR tracker one, the top one. There's one. There's also another one that's the org-wide OKR tracker, and that has the dashboard. And I will find the published link and share that. But if you do /OKR, you'll see it there. Okay, should we, I think Ben is next. John, can you invite him to the stage?
Yes, let's find Ben.
I will stop sharing.
All right. I can read it live too as Ben comes in. So our PMs often track dates at different granularities. Hey, Ben.
Hello.
You're too fast. Okay. Feel free to read your question and add any more color.
Our PMs often track dates at different granularities. This could be days, this could be months, this could be quarters. I'm sure other people have felt this pain, and I see some upvotes. And this is really depending on the size of projects or confidence, and can change as you're just trying to create a cohesive roadmap tracking. And this has kind of led us to keep our column as a date field, as a text field in Coda. And so I was just curious, are there any tools or best practices within Coda to track dates at different levels of granularity? And we switched over from Google Sheets into Coda and have fallen in love with Coda, and it's been amazing. But this is one thing that we continue to struggle with, and it's clear, just to be clear, it's not specific to Coda, but I think product managers kind of struggle with this across the board.
Yeah, I feel it. And Ben, what do you do? What's Altruist?
Hello, I'm a chief of staff at Altruist, and Altruist is a custodian. It's a B2B finance company that really helps make financial advice more accessible and more affordable, and we overall build software for registered financial advisors.
Cool. Great intro.
John, I think I lost you, or maybe it's just me.
No, I lost him as well.
Okay, can't hear you. Looked very animated, though. I was excited for that answer.
That'd be the perfect time that you solve PM road mapping dates and no one hears the answer.
Oh, man. Okay, can you hear me now? Otherwise, I'll...
Yes.
Okay. I have a Ben set up, too. I can put on the headphones. So actually super relevant. We have a webinar schedule, not a big surprise, and there are hard dates and there are soft dates, and a lot of the dates are like TBDs, and we want to have that at the column, and you can't do that in Coda. I've been exploring using AI to various degrees of success, where you have one column that's like the hard date column, and a soft date column, and then a third column that's AI, and then it'll figure out and parse it. It's still text, but it's coming in all as numbers. But then you can't do any sort of manipulation and reporting based off of it. So you can at least get the aggregation. You could do an if or concatenate. That kind of gets closer to there too. But yeah, it's not reporting up to any sort of Gantt chart or calendar. So I'm going to pass it to you, Teresa. That was a half answer.
I do think John's right. It's hard if you don't have consistency in the dates. Something that's helpful that we've done, which I don't know if this would be helpful for y'all, is on our own launch calendar, we have a confidence column. And then we do still force everyone to put in dates, but the confidence helps know, is it the actual date or is it plus or minus X amount of time?
Yep.
But I'll look into it. I'll ask our team if there's any other examples and can follow up with you.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you so much. It's been so helpful. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Ben, do you have a leading theory?
No,
Oh, so you just put us on the spot. Okay.
sorry.
All right. Awesome. Well, nice meeting you, Ben.
Thanks.
All right. I don't know if we have time for one more question. So maybe like next steps and
Yeah, that sounds good.
resources. Yeah.
Okay. So, sorry, let me share my screen. Well, first, thank you all so much for spending your Thursday afternoon or morning with us. We really appreciate it. As a next step, as I mentioned, you can start in the templates within Coda. There is the handbook, and then we do have upcoming webinars. And the last resource I want to share is John and I put together some of our favorite resources on road mapping here. And after the webinar, we'll make sure to email you all with next steps of how to get started in Coda and the recording as well if you want to refer back to it. But huge thank you. And that's all we have for today. So enjoy the rest of your day. Hope you all have a great weekend coming up.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Teresa.